Hi, this is TapCat, and today we're going to compare the weapons we can claim from the Assassin in XCOM 2's War of the Chosen DLC to the options already available to us in the base game. We've heard numerous times from the developers that these weapons are a reward for killing one of the Chosen, that they feel truly epic, and most recently, even that obtaining these weapons is how we'll be able to bring the current soldier classes up to the same power level as the new heroes. Well, the developer livestream on August 3rd showed us the full stats of the Assassin's weapons for the first time. And not being one to take someone else's word as fact, I'm going to use those stats to put their claims to the test. The profile on the left shows the Assassin's shotgun, named Arashi, from the latest developer livestream. The one on the right is a storm gun from my latest playthrough. The Arashi comes with 4 upgrade slots that are already populated, while the storm gun has 2 unless you unlock a 3rd with one of the continent bonuses on the world map. As luck would have it, my upgrades happen to match the first 2 slots on the Arashi, so this is about as close to a true apples to apples comparison as we can get. First, you can see that the Arashi is identical when it comes to base damage. It's 8 to 10. The clip size of 4 is also the same, as is the additional 3 ammo from the superior expanded magazine. The critical hit chance is different, but as I discussed in my last video, it appears that the storm gun will be nerfed in the War of the Chosen DLC and drop down to 10% as well. Presuming that's true, then these two will have an identical chance to crit with a 10% base plus the 15 from the superior laser sight. So up to this point, the 2 weapons are literally identical, and the only difference comes with the last 2 upgrade slots. First, the Arashi has a superior hair trigger that offers a 15% chance of getting an extra action each time you shoot. The final upgrade is a superior stock. I apologize for the fact it didn't fit in this information window, but you can see the missed shot damage of 3. Having heard the developers talk about how amazing these weapons are going to feel, I have to say that I'm pretty underwhelmed by this. There's no question that a free action is great, especially if it comes on a turn when you also get Implacable. The problem is that we can't plan on it happening or rely on it in any way. In fact, it won't be unusual to go entire missions without it activating a single time. And a stock that does 3 damage when I miss isn't much use on a soldier that routinely flanks enemies at point-blank range and has a 100% chance to hit. Again, I foresee a lot of missions where we won't see this come into play a single time. In other words, I see this epic weapon as functioning a whole lot like the one we'll already have access to. And if I had the choice, I'd pick the storm gun as it is right now with the 20% chance to crit over the Arashi. And it isn't like picking other weapon upgrades would be a big improvement. In my opinion, a ranger benefits tremendously from laser sights, and if you use rapid fire, expanded magazines. But after that, there's a big drop off in the impact any of the other upgrades have. If these are the final stats, then my verdict is I'll equip it if I have it, but wouldn't go out of my way or take any real risks specifically for the purpose of getting the Arashi. Okay, I wasn't bowled over by the Assassin's custom-made shotgun. Does that mean that the Katana also gets a shrug of the shoulders and a half-hearted meh? Not so fast, mon frere, because the entire approach to designing this weapon appears to be a hard 180 from the Arashi. Rather than starting with the same base stats and adding some mediocre benefits, the Katana is its own beast in virtually every way. On the left, we have the Katana, and on the right is the Fusion Blade, which is the most powerful sword in the base game. The base damage for the Katana is 8 to 9 compared to the Fusion Blade's 5 to 7. And before we move on, I just want to emphasize what a jump that is. When you upgrade from an Arc Blade's 4 to 6 damage up to the Fusion Blade's 5 to 7, those 2 damage ranges overlap significantly. The Katana's minimum damage is higher than the Fusion Blade's max and basically represents a 4th tier of sword, which is a first for XCOM 2. But that's just base damage. What about the rest? Well, on the surface, that's a mixed bag. The Fusion Blade shown here has a 20% chance to crit, but again, I believe this is being nerfed to 10% in War of the Chosen. The Katana has no bonus for critical hits. The fusion blade also notes that it has a chance to burn enemy targets, but just how high a chance does it have? Now, oddly enough, I couldn't find a definitive source for this, although I found a couple of places where it was claimed to be 100%. Now, this struck me as extremely unlikely, so I loaded some saves and tried it myself roughly a half dozen times. And with every hit, I did indeed set my target on fire. Now that's way too small a sample size to call definitive, but I am convinced that the burn damage can at least be said to have a reasonably high percentage chance. As with the chance to crit, the katana has no chance to set targets ablaze, but what it does have is the ability to bypass 5 armor. It also doesn't miss, ever. There's no accuracy check, and opponents can't dodge the attack for half damage. You swing, and the sword will hit for full damage every time. So these bonuses are very different from each other, and that would normally make a comparison difficult at best. But even if we assume that there really is a guaranteed burn for the fusion blade, the chance to crit is negligible, and unlike a shotgun, you can't stack it with enough other bonuses to make it reliable at all. And burn damage is good, but it will also be diminished by armor, just like the sword itself. The fact that the katana represents guaranteed damage nearly on par with the base damage of a storm gun, but with the added perk of bypassing up to 5 armor is a definite win in my eyes. I'm the first to admit, I use swords primarily as a way to clean up badly wounded enemies without wasting ammo. But even in that role, the katana is significantly more useful, and if you're investing in abilities like Reaper or Blade Storm, this sword will make them much more effective against literally any enemies you face. Personally, I won't get as much mileage from the katana as players who really commit to melee as a playstyle, but I'd be very happy to have it and would use a sword at least somewhat more often if I did. Final verdict? This is more what I expected from the Chosen's weapons based on the hype. I think the devs did a great job of making this feel unique and special, and I commend them for it. Alright, that's my take on the Assassin's weapons, but feel free to let us know yours in the comments. Am I being too hard on the Arashi? Or selling the Fusion Blade's burn damage short? Well, let us know what you think. If you found this video helpful, then please give it a like to help other people find it. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, you might want to do that, as I will continue to cover War of the Chosen through its release on August 29th and beyond. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Hope we see you next time.